Maunday Thursday. I hope that you are able to join us with our Maunday Thursday service, and that provides you a time to reflect on just what Jesus went through, the significance of that. Now Cassie is going to read us the scripture that takes us through the Garden of Gethsemane and the Last Supper and the arrest and the denial. It's tough reading, but hopefully it'll be helpful.
Today's Bible reading is Matthew chapter 27, and I'm reading it from the NIV Bible. Early in the morning, all the chief priests and the elders of the people made their plans how to have Jesus executed. So they bound him, led him away, and handed him over to Pilate, the governor. When Judas, who had betrayed him, saw that Jesus was condemned, he was seized with remorse and returned the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and the elders. I have sinned, he said, for I have betrayed innocent blood. What is that to us? They replied. That's your responsibility. So Judas threw the money into the temple and left. Then he went away and hanged himself. The chief priests picked up the coins and said, "It is against the law to put this into the treasury, since it is blood money." So they decided to use the money to put the potter's field as a burial place for foreigners. That is why it has been called the field of blood to this day. Then what was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet was fulfilled. They took the 30 pieces of silver, the price set on him by the people of Israel, and they used them to buy the potter's field, as the Lord commanded me. Jesus before Pilate. Meanwhile, Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" "You have said so," Jesus replied. When he was accused by the chief priests and the elders, he gave no answer. Then Pilate asked him, "Don't you hear the testimony that they are giving against you?" But Jesus made no reply, not even a single charge, to the great amazement of the governor. Now it was the governor's custom at this festival to release a prisoner chosen by the crowd. At that time they had a well-known prisoner whose name was Jesus Barabbas. So when the crowd had gathered, Pilate asked them, "Which one do you want me to release to you, Jesus Barabbas, or Jesus who is called the Messiah?" For he knew it was out of self-interest that they had handed Jesus over to him. Whilst Pilate was sitting on the judge's seat, his wife sent him the message, "Don't have anything to do with that innocent man, for I have suffered a great deal today in a dream because of him." But the chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowd to ask for Barabbas and to have Jesus executed. "Which of you two do you want me to release to you?" asked the governor. "Barabbas," they answered. "What shall I do then with Jesus who is called the Messiah?" Pilate asked. And they all answered, "Crucify him." "Why? What crime has he committed?" asked Pilate. But they shouted all the louder, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" When Pilate saw that he was getting nowhere, but that instead an uproar was starting, he took water and washed his hands in front of the crowd. "I am innocent of this man's blood," he said. "It is your responsibility." All the people answered, "His blood is on us and on our children." Then he released Barabbas from them. But he had Jesus flogged and handed him over to be crucified. The soldiers mocked Jesus. Then the governor's soldiers took Jesus into the praetorium and gathered the whole company of soldiers around him. they stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him, and then twisted together a crown of thorns and set it on his head. They put a staff in his right hand. Then they knelt in front of him and mocked him. "Hail, King of the Jews," they said. They spat on him and took the staff and struck him on the head again and again. After they had mocked him, they took off the robe and put his own clothes on him. Then they led him away to crucify him. The crucifixion of Jesus. As they were going out, they met a man from Cyrene named Simon, and they forced him to carry the cross. They came to a place called Golgotha, which means the place of the skull. They were offered Jesus wine to drink, mixed with gall, but after tasting it, he refused to drink it. When they had crucified him, they divided up his clothes by casting lots, and sitting down, they kept watch over him there. Above his head, they placed the written charge against him: "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews." 2 rebels were crucified with him, one on his right and one on his left, shaking their heads and saying, "You are going to destroy the temple and build it in 3 days. Save yourself. Come down from the cross if you are the Son of God." In the same way, the chief priests, the teachers of the law, and the elders mocked him. "He saved others," they said, "but he can't even save himself. He's the King of Israel. Let him come down now from the cross, and we will believe in him. He trusts in God. Let God rescue him now if he wants him. For he said, 'I am the Son of God.'" In the same way, the rebels who were crucified with him also heaped insults at him. The death of Jesus. From noon until 3 in the afternoon, darkness came over all the land. About 3 in the afternoon, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, "Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani," which means, my God, why have you forsaken me?" When some of those standing there heard this, they said, "He's calling Elijah." Immediately one of them ran and got a sponge. He filled it with wine vinegar, put it on a staff, and offered it Jesus so he could drink it. The rest said, "Now leave him alone. Let's see if Elijah comes to save him now." And when Jesus had cried out again in a loud voice, he gave up his spirit. At that moment, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth shook, the rocks split, and the tombs broke open. The bodies of many holy people who had died were raised to life. They came out of the tombs after Jesus' resurrection and went into the holy city and appeared to many people. When the centurion and those with him were guarding Jesus saw the earthquake and all that had happened, they were terrified and exclaimed, "Surely he was the Son of God." Many women were there, watching from a distance. They had followed Jesus from Galilee to care for his needs. Among them there was Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of Zebedee's sons. The burial of Jesus. As evening approached, there came a rich man from Arimathea named Joseph, who had himself become a disciple of Jesus. Going to Pilate, he asked for Jesus' body, and Pilate ordered that they give it to him. Joseph took the body, wrapped it in clean linen cloth, and placed it on his own new tomb that he had had cut out of the rock. He rolled a big stone in front of the entrance to the tomb and went away. Mary Magdalene and the other Mary were sitting there opposite the tomb. the guard at the tomb. The next day, the one after preparation day, the chief priests and the Pharisees went to Pilate. "Sir," they said, "we remember that while he was still alive, that deceiver said, 'After 3 days I will rise again.' So give the order for the tomb to be made secure until the 3rd day. Otherwise his disciples may come and steal the body and tell the people that he had been raised from the dead. This last deception will be worse than the first." "Take a guard," Pilate answered. "Go make the tomb as secure as you know how." So they went and made the tomb secure by putting a seal on the stone and posting the guard.
It's interesting, isn't it? What parts of Scripture we find resonate with us the most. The Garden of Gethsemane, for me, I find profound. More so even than our Good Friday services when we focus on the cross, that moment when Jesus just doesn't want to do what is ahead. When friends have just fallen asleep in the moment that he needs them, and he is alone and desperate and crying out to God, even though he is willing to go through it. I hope you're all doing well during this difficult time when we are isolated and away from people who we love, people we want to see, want to protect, want to share fellowship with. Jesus's isolation and loneliness in this chapter really speaks to me. So if you are alone, you don't need to be. The team is always here. Pick up a phone. There are people out there. I know that I've found some days worse than others. And there have definitely been times over the past couple of weeks where I've felt decidedly despondent. In that moment, Jesus cries out to God, recognizing that we are never alone. We always have people. We always have God by our side. So, remember to talk to people. Remember that they are there for you. And I really do hope that this video finds you well.
Hello, and in this video I am going to show you how to hand make 2 different types of paper flowers using simple material that you can find in your home. So for this flower, what you'll need is a stick, some scissors, 2 leaves cut out of different coloured green paper, and some sort of tape. Masking tape can be used for this. I've been using transport tape to use for bandages because it's fabric, it stretches better. We're going to start off folding our A4 piece of paper. Each piece of A4 paper make 2 flowers. Take the half of the A4 paper and fold it in half again. Cut along the folded side 3/4 of the way to the end. Cut lots of little slits. As you can see, it's got lots and lots of cuts. Rip off little bits of tape about 1 centimetre long because you'll need quite a few of these. It's easier to tear them off first. Take the stick. Take your folded piece of paper, with the fold upwards and the open bit downwards. Take a piece of tape, put it on the end of your stick. Put that at the very end of your cut paper, and we just simply start to twist. And as we're twisting, we're going to go down the stick. The thinner the paper, the better. So sometimes it can get a bit crumpled. So what you need to do is every now and again, just keep putting another piece of tape on to hold it in place. All we're simply doing is twisting the stick round and round, making these flowers. These flowers are going to be used to decorate our Good Friday cross on Easter Sunday. So once we get to the end, take a good piece of tape and secure the edges. Really make sure that it's well and truly stuck on. Now add on our leaves. Just another piece of tape. Simply attach the leaves to the bottom, and there you have it. Flower number 1. The second type of flower, these flowers here, these are made of paper cases that we use for making cupcakes. For this one, we need paper cases, some leaves, a stick, flexible tape that we used before. Take the paper case, fold them in half again, and then fold them in half for a third time. So these are going to be our petals. So if we take our stick and put our first piece of tape on the stick, then if we place the stick inside the crease of one of our leaves, this then gives us our first petal. So wrap that round in a nice circle so that it creates the inside of our flower. And then each time we're just going to place the petal round the last petal and sellotape it together. This is the edge, so we're going to put that inside the next cupcake holder and tape it down. The tighter we do this, the tighter the flower. The looser we do it, the looser the flower. It depends the kind of look that you're looking for. Play around with what you want and how you want the flower to look. As the flower gets bigger, you'll need to open out the petals a bit more. So by the end, you will probably be using the petals not very folded at all. Like I said, you will go through quite a bit of tape doing these flowers. You don't necessarily have to put tape on every layer, as long as it is all taped to something. I'm going to put a bit of extra tape around the bottom just to make sure it's all nicely secured. And then I'm going to take my 2 leaves, position them how I want them, put a piece of tape so they're taped together, and then just secure them on with extra bits of tape just to make sure that they don't fall off. And there we have it. So now we have several different types of flowers, and all of these flowers are going to go on our Easter cross on Easter Sunday.